character's favorite Fast and Furious character?
Yeah, that's a weird one.
None. Those movies don't exist in Eberron. What's a Fast and Furious?
Yep.
They're riding away from us.
They're
They'll never
stage-
escort us again.
It's about
They're a
illegal.
series of-
It's about illegal versions of the Race of Nine Winds in Sharn.
Yep.
So it's
Series
illegal
of stage plays.
illegal air racing in Sharn.
You haven't done the intro. All of this is for nothing.
Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. It is Friday. What? Yes, Friday, and yet we have the whole cast with
But all of us are here.
for Khyber Shards answers, and I just realized how ominous that probably is.
Let's do this one last KSA, just one last ride.
Well, we hit obviously the characters in the most recent episode, and if you haven't watched the most recent episode, get out of here and go watch it.
Don't be here.
But
Or be
obviously,
here. Who cares?
sure, I guess, but if you're here and you haven't watched, like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Obviously, at the end of the last episode, characters made the momentous decision to attempt to solve their problems using time travel. As the hero of so many upbeat sci-fi stories have.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Marty McFly.
that being a
End of
momentous
list.
moment, I thought that that being an obvious sort of chapter break in our story, that it would be good to have everybody on and talk about it, because there was a lot from all of the characters in the last few episodes. Just a lot of development.
I don't remember any of it.
True.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of questions, and so I'm going to let that kind of guide our discussion. And the first one is obviously an extremely serious narrative question to start us off with. So I hope you guys are ready for it. Laura would like to know who your character's favorite Fast and Furious character is.
This might be the most important KSA question we've had in the years that we've been doing this. Pugs is Luke Hobbs. He's big, he's hot, and he gets the best lines in the series.
So he has that moment where he tears a chain gun off of a helicopter and uses it as a hand weapon.
Yeah, breaking out of the cast in the hospital.
Flexing out of the cast is maybe one of the best, deeply unserious moments in cinema.
One of the coolest things I've ever seen, and Pug would have stood in the theater. Would have spoken. His mark would have grown that day from inspiration. Luke Hobbs.
Got it.
I would need help with this one. That question assumes that I've seen it within the last decade, and or any of the 15,000 afterwards, and I haven't.
I was going to say, if you haven't seen one in the last
I
decade,
haven't.
you're about 30 movies behind.
I know. And I know that makes me a bad friend, because y'all have talked about it on the. I never got into that podcast, but I have.
Does not make you a bad friend. I'd like to clarify, it does not make you a bad friend.
Yeah. There's plenty of time for you to go back and listen to our episodes on the I Never Got Into That podcast.
You can listen to
it's
that episode
summer
and
now.
enjoy it without watching those movies.
We might be funnier. Like, there's a chance we did it better than they did. For Shade, like, why am I forgetting?
I mean, Shade is, in a lot of ways, an embodiment of the ethos of it is all about family.
Yeah, true.
Like Shade's whole thing is anybody, like Shade might be a more pleasant to enjoy version of Dom Toretto.
It's true.
If I could also see
I'll take it.
Ramsey, like the hacker that has everyone's attention, that wants none of it, that is accidentally great at being a part of this crew.
Yeah.
Awesome.
God, Colin, get it together.
so unprofessional.
Ari's would be Roman.
The worst.
Funny guy. Like, yeah.
Yep.
So, seems like Ari would identify.
And Laura wants to know Tommel's, which is an interesting choice. And I don't,
because he's dead. Just kidding. He's not.
I mean, that's a good one. That's real strong. I feel like y'all's way of bringing Tommel back into the story is substantially more plausible than Han. And you guys literally used magic.
But
And
sewers
it still manages to be substantially more plausible than that resurrection.
Sewers in the CIA. What more do you need?
Somehow Han returned.
We have tangented.
Tommel. I don't know. I'm trying to think which of the villains is the most self-righteous.
Dislikable.
Like, because most of the villains are kind of mustache twirling and don't necessarily see themselves as in the right. Maybe it's the most. I don't remember. Jason Momoa is. I remember all these characters by their actor name. Maybe it's Jason Momoa. It's like sort of vengeance obsessed. Thinks that the people he's after deserve it.
Paints the
that kind
nails
of
of
thing.
corpses.
Yeah. I mean, not nearly as charismatic. There's
Whole shark eyes.
yeah, but maybe I don't know.
I think Laura's probably hunting for you to say Deckard Shaw because they so badly want a redemption story to come around.
Right. I mean, in that to redeem the character, as far as we can tell, one would need to just essentially rewrite the character. Which is what happens to Deckard Shaw because there's no relationship between the redeemed It's what happens to all the villains in Fast and Furious is they're horrifying people, and then in the next movie they've been rewritten as, oh no, it was all just a joke, guys.
Inspired by family.
My bad.
My bad.
Can I come to the cookout?
The terrible
Only if you
Want
ribs.
to taste some of those grilled ribs?
So offensive. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't have a good answer for Tommel on this. I don't know who the most myopically obsessed with their own sense of mission character is. Yeah. Emily asks, for whomever's on, it's all of us.
Hey.
Do you think your Greymalkin student would like Sharn, assuming the timeline isn't destroyed?
You have no faith in us, Emily. We are professionals.
Feel free to pick from Donabella or any of the other Greymalkin residents who evacuated to Sharn. What do you guys think? Is your character going to enjoy the big city?
I think Kara would, being able to disappear kind of like even more under the radar. There's a lot of people. So, yeah.
As a street urchin, I feel like the streets are really dangerous in Sharn because you could fall quite a ways. But yeah, I can't see a reason that Pip wouldn't, honestly. Like, it feels new city, new me.
Nasaria definitely would.
Yeah.
Big city. She's like, finally, culture.
Season 2.
I think Donabella would be, adventure. Leaving town for the first time in a significant way since she arrived. So yeah, the sense of just big adventure coming here. She came to Stormreach from a more rural location, and so a yet bigger city would be a cool.
If anybody knows Wicked, there's the song One Short Day in the Emerald City when Elphaba and Glinda go to the Emerald City, and I'm singing that in my head right now. Like, that is Nasaria walking into.
There's definitely a really good mall rat episode, side episode of the Greymalkin kids loose in Sharn for the first time. Laura then has a set of questions for each of you, beginning
One
with
for each of
Casey.
you.
Casey, it felt like such a huge character growth for Shade to offer to hand herself over to save the city and her friends. In the beginning, she mostly only valued them because they were her sense of a sense of safety to her. And anytime there was a danger to one of them leaving, her fear was for losing that safety. You put so much thought into everything Shade does, thinks, and I wondered if you had any more insights into that character growth.
I do have some insights into that, and also thank you. I struggled with whether or not to have Shade do that simply because I knew that it was going to be quickly dismissed by her companions. Like I knew that Shade sacrificing herself wasn't something that Ari or Pog would allow to happen. But I still wanted that character moment because it was meant to be like her entire thing so far has been her survival, and she has been slowly shifting towards a willingness to put herself in danger for others in an attempt to show her growth and her love of family. And
Family.
and so that moment of she sincerely was willing to give herself up if that would have saved them. No regrets, no doubts. That's what she wanted to do. I also wanted it to sort of mirror Pog's decision with the Green Knight. That was such a big decision for Pog, and also a big character moment for Shade in letting her friends make their own choices, which she obviously struggles with control. And just the irony of like, well, this is my choice, and her friend's like, nah.
It's not.
Right. But I did have that sort of scene and our, independence / codependence on each other going through my mind in what was happening there. But it was, yes, I knew it was not an actual viable option for as a player, but as a character, I wanted her to show that.
Very cool. Colin, if Pip were given a Harazi time traveling special, what would he go back and change?
Oh, I always feel so bad when I answer Pip questions because it feels like a cop-out so many of the times. It would be really hard for Pip to change much because, again, this is the best it's ever been for Pip. Like this version of life since getting his mark is the best because he was kicked out. I did say in the origin that he was violently thrown out by his father. So if he got to go back as he is today, he would probably not be throttled quite so handily by his father and might let him know about himself a little bit. Maybe some cool beatdown would happen to Dad, and that would be about it because he's where he wants to be with people that want to be around him. And I know I build sad boy characters, but that means a lot. There's no place in his life that's better even than the chaos of today. This is a place he belongs. So sorry to cop out, but that's my genuine answer there.
And then Emily would like Casey and Eric to also answer that question for their Grimulkin students.
Another cop-out answer, but Nasaria is so Hermione-esque. And so if she was able to, I honestly think that she would use it just to go back to the start of when she started school so that she knew more than the other students.
That's bullying.
Amazing.
Her actualies would be correct this time, or at least in her mind. Obviously not gaining in the wisdom department, but
Intelligence goes up, wisdom goes down.
right. Charisma significantly sinks.
Yeah, I think for Kara, it would also be like Kara's circumstances. So, her mark manifested, and she was chased off of her continent from Arenal, and so there's no real going back and like changing that, other than maybe leaving sooner. So I think it would be very similar to like early days in Stormreach, and probably just having a better understanding of who's who in relation to the city and the school, and primarily like Esri, because obviously when she saw Esri's mark, she freaked out about that, and so being able to kind of understand the nuance to the situation, and yeah, I think that would be a big part of it. So yeah, that'd probably be what she would want to do. And also, these 3 other faculty members that are supposed to be really important just dip out of the school and never come back to teach a class. So probably invest less time in getting on their good sides. So spend more time with Arlo and Esri.
Nice. Laura inquires of me, was River going off script when she asked to be saved from her story? That seems so unusual for the Feywild. Was there something special about her, or did she always beg to be saved and every other heartless hero left her there? Or was every other hero full of heart was part of her story, so the happy ending was reset every time, and River could sense that these people were not actually part of the story, so she could actually be saved this time? Probably the answer is, how many times do I have to tell you to stop analyzing my storyland? But these kind of questions haunt me. Laura, stop analyzing. No. It does seem unusual for the Feywild, and it does seem like River broke the rules. I have a couple of times suggested, pretty subtly, I think, that River's ancestry is strange. The story suggests that River's ancestry is a little strange, and that there is something in River's ancestry that is not necessarily... Try not to just say, because I don't know whether it could come up. I've tried to suggest that River,
in the room.
Yeah, I've tried to suggest that River is more than a dryad, and that is about as far as I can get. So it is, yes, River went off script. Yes, going off script is strange.
She's also a dune buggy, more than meets
right.
the eye.
Yep. That's the one.
For no
Nailed
reason
it.
whatsoever. Could you cite and quote those subtle hints that you gave?
I feel real bad at
the short version
game.
would be Once Upon a Time, when Arlo actually reads the story, he says some things about who River is, or who the person you will eventually come to know as River is. So
Interesting.
Yep, that would be the arc where subtle hints occur,
Okay.
and probably a little bit every time any other important Feywild character has talked about her.
Oh, I totally believe you. I'm just
I don't.
trying to remember.
Colin,
Yes.
how much thought did you put into asking Hular about Solarka and then asking Solarka? I'm going to be impressed, but not at all surprised if the answer was that it was spur of the moment.
It was 100% spur of the moment. I had no idea I was going to do that. I've seen Pog and Solarka getting married as like the happy ending for Pog. But I had no idea. And until you opened it up, I was like, you're only going to get maybe this shot to have this conversation. Like, if you get the 3 most important people in Pog's life, 2 of them are going to go with him on this. So you get maybe one final interaction with the third. What do you do?
You only get one shot.
One
One opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted. So he captured it and didn't let it slip. Yeah, it was completely spur of the moment. And then it was as I walked up that Philip was like, Hular's there. I went, oh, you know what? Seems like a traditional dude. I probably ought to have this convo with him first. It was going to just go and be a panic proposal of, I'm probably going to die, but it'll be yesterday. So you won't know. But it was decided then.
So there's a pretty hilarious plot hook built into that's in Solarka's description in the Stormreach book that I pulled her from, of like ways that characters might get involved with this character. And one of the things that Solarka wants to be adventurous, so she might try to join heroes on adventures. Another is that Solarka might recruit the heroes to help her go and acquire a husband from the Goliath tribes of the mountains, suggesting that the Goliaths are like matriarchal husband stealing culture. Like there's some sort of ritual kidnapping that takes place. And
damn it, I stole this opportunity from us.
Been a long con this whole time. That's funny.
This has been her goal from the outset. Fell right into Philip's trap.
So yeah, anyway. No, that was great. I enjoyed role playing that with you.
I had a lot of fun with that moment. That was we've had some really enjoyable moments of role play depth recently that have been very satisfying to be a part of.
Yeah. None upcoming though. Like, sorry guys,
we started season 2. You didn't tell them that was the series finale?
It's just disappearing and
it's
over. You'll find out whether they succeeded when I describe the world of season 2.
Yeah. We got the game over screen. Don't know what to tell y'all.
We rolled an outro, right?
All right. Emily inquires, Colin, what's Pog's dream wedding?
To Solarka.
Two Solarkas.
That's the immediate answer, is just getting married to Solarka. But if he got to have his 7 dresses day, then probably in the Grove would be the answer, with the father from the Church of the Silver Flame presiding over, because father. And then just the friends and students and our companions. He would probably in the detailing would probably try to get Mrs. B to be a part of helping the bridal party. You know, putting all that together. That's who we would immediately go to. If it wasn't for the whole like the world ends in 20 hours thing, he would have gone to Mrs. B and been like, I need help. I'm getting married. Yeah, that's just
she can walk Pog down the aisle.
In the Grove. We really swapped some things up here. We're gonna have to fight over Shade though, because I don't know which side she's gonna stand on. We're both gonna want her on our side. It's going to be an adventure there. Oh, she's got so many brothers. I don't know how I'm going to... I don't have enough people to put on the bride side to match all of her brothers. Yeah,
I think she has an unspecified number of brothers. I think her number of brothers has never been officially established on the show. I might be wrong, but I don't think so.
They just keep showing up.
There's nobody in the audience. It's just like the brothers on her side and everybody else.
In the last episode, in the last season of Parks and Rec, there's just all these Swansons.
Everyone shows
keep
up.
Appearing.
Yep. That's my answer there.
Cool. Emily asks, Philip, how much did the time travel plan take you by surprise? The answer to this is complicated. I had in mind some time travel shenanigans, because I've obviously put in some work creating a time travel character and creating some risks and hazards to time travel and allowing them to use some time travel. So yeah, I have had some time travel shenanigans in mind. I did not expect that to be the player character's like go-to. I had some things I was trying to nudge toward, but I'm very opposed to forcing. And so I was quite surprised that the characters thought, let's do this. I shouldn't have been. If you've got a time machine, that's the pretty obvious plan.
You said X-Men from the start.
Sure. So it caught me a little bit off guard, but I was pretty well prepared to deal with it because I already had some time travel shenanigans in my notes, and so it was a little bit of adjustment, but not a ton. And that's really all I can say because we've recorded the next few sessions. So you'll understand more about what I'm talking about on Monday, probably.
Can I ask what did you think we were gonna do?
Well, I expected you guys to eventually go to Hirazi because I figured you would go try to warn her or get her to safety or something like that. So I expected. So that part was not. It wasn't. It was actually surprising to me that wasn't the immediate plan. I was actually the thing I was most worried that I was a little worried would be that would have required the most improv that I thought was possible. Like I had written some notes and I have a little marginal note that says, what if this? And I still don't have an answer to it. And the thought was, what if they like split up? Like what if Shade activates her amulet and goes to Hirazi to try and protect Hirazi? Hirazi leaves Pog and Ari, and Pog and Ari are trying, like, what if they're in two different places when all of this stuff starts to happen? And I was thinking, man, because you want the stuff still to happen and you want the players to still have some agency in it, but also, boy, that would have become real complicated real fast. Too fast, too complicated is what that would have been. So yeah, that's one of the things I was really not very prepared for. And luckily that's not what you guys did. I was pretty surprised that Shade's first thought was, I'm going to destroy it. That makes a lot of sense. Like I see it totally from Shade's perspective, but I hadn't expected that. And some other things I thought you guys might do. I expected the whole let's raise the city kind of thing. That wasn't surprising. Yeah, I mean, I try to think of what I think the like 3 or 4 most likely things that you guys will do are, so that I can be prepared. And usually one of those things is close to right. But sometimes, who knows?
Wild cards.
Yeah. The way the nature of the plan that the heroes came up with was a little surprising, but I was fairly ready for there to be some sort of time travel shenanigans. So, and they also ask, are there any major plot threads that, thanks to time travel, you're sad won't be resolved? Well, I don't necessarily know because we haven't completely finished yet. At the moment, there is one plot line that I'm certain I won't get to resolve. I thought there were 2 because I thought I wouldn't get to resolve any of the stuff with Vol, but by giving Arandis the sword, the players let me bring her story back in spite of us not having Ezri as an active player character anymore. And so I got to involve her some more, and that was very nice. So I appreciate you guys doing that, and I hope you have no regrets.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, it was for you.
And I cannot. I ask me this question when we get to the end, and I will be able to share what the other one is, because it involves my thought process for the end game of the campaign. And so ask me that one again when we get to the end of the campaign.
We're gonna finish.
I mean,
I
I
hope so.
I'm gonna leave that out there.
I have an answer to one that I'm pretty confident, even like just the sheer, I mean, it's it's the dice roll that you talked about of like we were ramping up to rallying the city against the Stormlords and like the persecution of the aberrant marks, that I felt like was a really natural progression of kind of a lot of the B plots of the campaign, that the legs were just kind of cut. Like there's no reason for that to be a thing that gets resolved at this point, because the bigger problem has shown up. So
that's true. And it also interrupted the plot with Pog's father. The random dice roll landing where it did also interrupted the plot with Pog's father. And I'm sorry about that. I was both looking forward to and frankly terrified of role playing that conversation. So
there's a sad side to. We've grown to have so much trust between us as a group to role play some really challenging moments, and I was pretty excited to hate you for the first time in 20 years, but I don't think that there's a reason that story would ever come back, no matter how our situation resolves.
Yeah, unless it's like a thing we tack into the epilogue, which might feel weird. I don't know. It's just, it feels like more like the Stormreach thing. More pressing stuff has suddenly interfered in a big way. I will say, to come back to Casey's question of what did I expect, I expected you guys to go investigate what the Stormlords were up to, which is what you told Thora you were going to go do. And so I had a bunch of notes for what are the Stormlords doing, and was really prepared for conversations with the Stormlords. And the second you guys were on the ground, it was like, Solarkas? I was like, okay. So I instead improvised the inside of Solarka's house. So yeah. Another one for me from Emily. Before, you said that the insanity from contacting another plane would probably be Ari losing memories. Would it be the same when contacting River, Harazi, or another being, since he's still using power from the Forgotten Patron? Or was that dependent on the Forgotten Prince being contacted, and instead all of the other entities would have a different type of madness associated with them, such as a simple roll on an indefinite madness table? The entity being contacted would not affect the kind of madness. The nature of Ari's patron has changed my thought process for what madness would be. But I don't expect that. I'm not willing to bet on this being the last time that Ari risks his insanity by using magic. And so I really don't want to tell you what I have in mind with his current patron, because I think it's really good and funny, and also crippling in an appropriate way. And so again, come back to this question at the end, and I will tell you what the insanity would have been if we haven't gotten there yet. But I don't want to show that card quite yet. But yes, it is affected by the patron, not the target of the spell. For me, anyone can do that. And if I had no good idea, I would perhaps roll randomly. And I mean, the spell gives essentially a consequence if you don't have any idea of what to do. But I have something to do instead of the spell's described consequence that I think is more fun and allows the player to still do stuff. Because I think just being catatonic for 8 hours, while a real severe consequence, is also kind of boring. Because either that player doesn't get to play for a while, or we were about to take a long rest anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I stand by that Ari forgets that he's not a vampire anymore and sets back on that quest. Just from a year and a half or 2 years ago.
I mean, that
Impotently
that lasts,
biting necks without fangs, just like gumming on.
That lasts right until Ari discovers that he cannot turn into a bat.
Mm-hmm.
Bat! And just flops onto the ground. That's my money.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then our last set of questions is from Emily, Casey, Eric, and Colin. For the sake of this question, let's assume that there's a fork in the timeline. I mean, there are forks everywhere. Emily, people eat.
I got you, Emily. I got you.
Ooh.
Let's assume that there's a fork in the timeline, and the next campaign will take place 5 to 10 years after the Stryke Force left this timeline. Okay, so the imagined scenario here is by leaving the timeline, the Stryke Force create an alternate dimension, and in one branch, there is the Stryke Force just left and nothing changed.
Darkest timeline.
Got it.
I mean, maybe. We cause a lot of chaos.
Utopia is where we said our
It's that meme of the utopian landscape, and it's like when the Stryke Force leaves the timeline.
And that's our next campaign. If you could pick any Grimalkin student or Rubble Warren gang member, regardless of who played whom in the main campaign or Rubble Warriors, which now grown-up kid would you want to play in the new resistance, or I'm sorry, the new rebellion against Kulsir?
I would still. I thought about this question, and I would still go with Bajak, just because I think Bajak getting older is. Bajak was very fun to play in the Rebel Warriors arc, but an older Bajak that has a greater understanding of the consequences of his friendship with Donabella and his family, and how Kulsir would play into that. Like, I think that is a very difficult cocktail for Bajak to navigate, and I think that would be a really interesting character to play and try to reckon with all of that. So that's what I would say.
Cool.
I would also stay. I would stay Cadric because it was fun to be the energetic, optimistic, hopeful young sprite that he was. And I would like to grizzle and haggard him and show him the broken, beaten down warrior that has evolved from this, and just see him in his old man Logan era 10 years down the line, just understanding this whole world is against us, and then entering into that era, which is how I envision him in 5-10 years.
Mm-hmm. Casey?
How do you pick one? Your answers were beautiful, but I'm like, Ilya, because she's so cool. Like, Ilya already is a grown up. I think figuring out what she would be in 10 years, 5 to 10 years, would be interesting. She would just get stronger and more powerful, and she's already so awesome. I think Donabella, she just has such this childish innocence and fun attitude, and playing with what that would look like after everything that she's been through, I think would be challenging and fascinating. And she's just such a great character that, she'd be fun to play on any timeline.
That's fair.
I'll keep it at 2.
Okay. Post-apocalyptic river for me sounds amazing. Like, I don't know what that would mean for her as a Fae character, or to what degree Kulsir's dominion would affect the Grove. But I mean, if Kulsir conquers Stormreach, that tree is in Stormreach. So
Yeah.
There's some potential shenanigans there. Yeah, post-apocalyptic river would be pretty amazing. A really like
That's a
Mad
good
Max.
answer.
Yeah, a really Mad Maxed out Levexi, I think, would also be just hilarious.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I'm kind of out right there, to be honest.
Like that, I think. I think a Mad Maxed Levexi would be really just funny to play, and a version of her that I've never seen incarnated.
Just riding a dragon and dominating the Outlands.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Levexi as a wasteland warlord. Levexi, that version of Levexi belongs in Borderlands.
Yes. Tiny Lexi's Wonderlands.
Mm-hmm. So that would be fun. I'm trying to think what other characters from the story would be fun in a post-apocalyptic Age of Colseer setting.
Colseer. Be a lot of fun to play him.
I'd really love to like make Selshadra survive, and have her like somewhere in the wasted landscape, probably still with Kolos, as her as her body man. Yeah, I don't know. There's one of his horns is like broken and replaced with something else. Like just,
I'd want to play the pilot. What was his name?
Malcolm.
Malcolm. Yeah. I bet he has seen some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one. Malcolm would be good times.
Yeah, Malcolm is a fun. Malcolm would be a fun post-apocalyptic character as well.
What about Samhain? I want to play Samhain post-apocalyptic. I wonder if he's still got his boat.
Oh, the ferryman. Boy, this is completely lost there.
Do you have notes up right now, or do you actually just remember his name?
Logged in. Samhain, Greg, two most important NPCs in the game.
That is incredible. Wow.
Or I'd really like to find a way to put a to somehow have Geralt alive, like Geralt Goodblade, running a post-apocalyptic smuggling operation.
Honestly, the most like post-apocalyptic, the most fun freeing character, just because you could divorce yourself from all sense of morality. And this is like darkest timeline, but like Soleil Moonspear, if something happened to Ilya like if Ilya died and Soleil's just on a vengeance like that would be a very intense and just freeing character to play. Like everyone's gonna die. So
it's a revenge action, blood-soaked adventure.
Yeah.
Soleil Moonspear kills the Age of Colseer.
Soleil Moonspear kills Eberron.
Yeah, that'd be a good one too.
Zot is my final answer.
I was
Finkel.
thinking
That's my
the other end of the spectrum would be Harish. Like, how do you keep your cafe open?
Just running around with a bag, throwing cats into it. I promise it's for your own good.
Yeah. Okay. So those are our crazy answers. Thank you all so much. Next week's KSA won't have any players on it because I don't want them. It will be really hard to answer questions.
Because nothing happens of consequence.
Yeah. It's gonna be very brief.
Because I don't want them, is what he said.
So we'll figure out what I'll talk about, or maybe we'll just have a week off. But thank you all so much for these questions
for Philip.
This is
dating
this
tips.
is a ton
Philip's
of fun.
dating tips. Send in your questions now.
Oh my gosh. Don't just marry your best friend.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Anyway, that's all for this week. Thank you all so much. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can do so in the comments down below. Please tell us what you would want to know, what plot line you think
What dating advice
will be missed. No, God, why? who you want to see the post-apocalyptic Age of Kulsir version of. Let us know these things in comments down below. You can also get in touch with us. You can submit questions over on our Discord, which is pretty active and fun. You can find a link to that down below. You'll also find links to the Geek Pantheon YouTube channel where Eric does TTRPG episodes, to Colin's Twitch where he is sorry BTR, the O being a 0. New episodes of Khyber Shards on Monday, new Khyber Shards answers on Fridays. And until next time, thanks for rolling with us.
Bye.